The film opens with a grim world in the year 2029. Bodies lie scattered among the ruins left by a nuclear explosion that killed more than 3 billion people. The destruction was caused by an advanced computer system called Skynet, a military program that turned into a threat to humanity. After taking control of the world's weapons, Skynet created an army of killing machines known as Terminators to wipe out the remaining human survivors. However, a key figure named John Connor managed to lead the resistance forces and pushed Skynet into a corner. As a response, Skynet adopted a new strategy by sending one of its Terminator units to the past to kill John Connor during his teenage years before he could grow into a resistance leader. The story then jumps back to the year 1995. In the middle of the night, a burst of bright light appears, the result of machine-generated time travel. From inside the light emerges a muscular man with no clothes on. This is the Terminator, a T-800 killer robot unit sent from the future. The T-800 enters a bar in his naked state. He scans everyone inside to find clothing that matches his size. After identifying a suitable target, he demands all the clothes worn by one of the bikers, from jacket to pants to underwear. The biker gets angry and presses a lit cigar against the Terminator's chest. The T-800 shows no reaction. A brief fight breaks out, and he quickly takes down the entire group of bikers and secures the clothes he needs. As he prepares to leave, the bar owner points a shotgun at him. The Terminator seizes the weapon, takes a pair of sunglasses from the owner's pocket, and rides off on a motorcycle to begin his mission. At another location, a similar flash of light appears and burns a mark into a metal fence. A patrolling police officer arrives to investigate. Suddenly, a naked man attacks him from behind and kills him. This figure is the T-1000, a far more advanced assassin model than the T-800. He disguises himself as the officer and begins tracking John Connor using the patrol car's computer. The story shifts to the next morning, where a 10-year-old John Connor is hacking an ATM with his friend. Since his mother's arrest, John has lived under foster care. His mother, Sarah Connor, has been detained in a mental hospital after attempting to destroy a building owned by Cyberdyne. Her actions were driven by her belief that the company would create the technology that would lead to humanity's downfall. But her story about a killer robot from the future is dismissed as delusion. As a result, she is kept under strict surveillance and forced to take sedatives. Meanwhile, the disguised T-1000 visits John's foster home, but John is not there at the time. His foster parents become worried because John often gets into trouble. They also tell the officer that another large man had been looking for John earlier, who is likely the T-800. After gathering clues from John's friends, the T-1000 tracks him to an arcade. When John sees a police officer searching for him, he panics and runs away, afraid of being caught for hacking the ATM. At the same time, the T-800 also arrives at the arcade. During his escape, John gets cornered in a hallway where the T-800 appears and raises a shotgun. But unexpectedly, the T-800 shoots past John, firing at the T-1000 coming from behind. The gunfire does not stop the T-1000 because his body is made of liquid metal that allows him to heal instantly. A fierce fight erupts between the two machines as the crowd scatters. John jumps onto his motorcycle and flees. The T-1000 steals a moving truck and continues the chase. The T-800 intervenes and shoots one of the truck's tires, causing it to lose control and crash into a bridge. John survives for the moment. Once the situation calms down, John asks the Terminator a series of questions. Based on its data, the T-800 explains that it is a killer robot unit from the future, while the one pursuing him is the more advanced T-1000 sent to kill him. The Terminator also explains that in the future, John captured and reprogrammed him. He was then sent back in time with a single mission: to protect John from the T-1000. The explanation is complicated, but it convinces John that everything his mother said about the machines was true. That night, John tries calling his foster home. His foster mother suddenly sounds gentle and unusually calm. This raises suspicion. To confirm, the T-800 mimics John's voice and asks why their dog Wolfie keeps barking. The woman says nothing is wrong. The T-800 immediately concludes that the foster parents are dead. He knows the caller is the T-1000. The clue is simple. Their dog's real name is Max, not Wolfie. To stay safe, the T-800 suggests leaving town, but John insists they must rescue his mother first. The T-800 warns him that the T-1000 likely reached Sarah already and may be impersonating her. But because the T-800 is programmed to obey John, he follows his command. At the mental hospital, the police interrogate Sarah. They show her a photo of the man who chased her 11 years ago. She recognizes him as the Terminator she destroyed but refuses to speak. She is shocked when she learns that the man has reappeared recently. Her silence convinces the staff she is still delusional, so they lock her in isolation. But this is part of her escape plan. Using a hidden paperclip, she frees herself, unlocks her cell, and subdues several guards. Just as she reaches the last exit, she sees the T-800 standing in the doorway. Terror overwhelms her because he looks identical to the machine that tried to kill her 11 years earlier. She freezes and gets caught again by the hospital staff. The T-800 quickly disables the guards. John calms his terrified mother and tells her that this Terminator is on their side. The T-1000 breaks through the barred gate. The Terminator fires repeatedly while dragging Sarah and John into an elevator. As the doors close, the T-1000 forces them open, but the T-800 shoots him in the head, splitting his liquid metal face. The T-1000 still continues the chase and injures Sarah's shoulder. They escape in a police car. The T-1000 jumps onto the back of the vehicle, but gets thrown off when the T-800 shoots the metal hook formed from his arm. They rest at an abandoned gas station. The T-800 stitches Sarah's wounds. She removes embedded bullets from his body. He explains that he has a power cell that lasts 120 years and a neural processor capable of learning, although Skynet locked the feature to limit adaptation. John suggests activating the learning mode. Under the Terminator's instructions, Sarah removes the chip. The T-800 shuts down instantly. Trauma drives Sarah to consider destroying the chip, but John stops her. He insists the T-800 is their best chance because the T-1000 is still hunting them. She finally agrees. The next morning, the T-800 reveals critical information. The source of everything is a scientist named Miles Dyson. Within months, Dyson will create a revolutionary microprocessor for Cyberdyne systems. 3 years later, Cyberdyne becomes the main supplier of automated military defense systems worldwide. Once global defense is fully automated, Skynet will gain self-awareness and identify humans as a threat. Then on August 29, 1997, Skynet would launch a nuclear strike that wiped out billions of people from Earth. Hearing this explanation, Sarah realized that the future could still be changed. The only way to prevent the disaster was to stop Miles Dyson before he completed the processor project. Sarah then took them to the hideout of her old friend Enrique, where she once stored various supplies. It turned out that what she stored there was not ordinary equipment, but a weapons cache complete with a large amount of ammunition. They prepared a van to transport all the weapons. Meanwhile, Sarah went alone carrying a bag of firearms. She intended to change fate in her own way, by killing Miles Dyson before he finished his research. At the same time at his home, Miles Dyson was working on the prototype of an advanced processor that would become the foundation of the Skynet system. He lived a modest life with his wife and 2 children, unaware that his research would one day bring catastrophe to humanity. That afternoon, when John realized his mother's intention, he immediately asked the T-800 to follow Sarah before it was too late. They left right away. That night, when she arrived at Dyson's house, Sarah prepared her rifle from a distance and aimed at Dyson, who was working. But the shot missed because Dyson was distracted by his child who was playing nearby. Sarah continued firing automatic rounds until one bullet pierced Dyson's shoulder. She then entered the house to finish him. But when she saw Dyson's terrified wife and child crying, Sarah couldn't pull the trigger. She realized she had almost become a cold-blooded killer like the machine she once feared. Moments later, John and the T-800 arrived. They calmed Sarah and helped explain everything to Dyson. At first, he found their story unbelievable. Until the T-800 proved it by cutting open the skin on his arm and revealing the metal endoskeleton inside. Dyson was shocked. The T-800 then explained in detail about the dark future caused by Dyson's creation. Skynet would be born from his research and trigger a war that killed billions of people. Hearing this, Dyson finally believed them and decided to shut down his entire project. He also revealed that the foundation of the research came from 2 mysterious objects: a processor chip and a metal hand, remnants of the first T-800 unit. That was the same unit that once tried to kill Sarah Connor. So that night they went straight to the Cyberdyne building. When they arrived, they subdued a guard who refused to cooperate. They then accessed the main laboratory. But other staff realized what was happening and activated the alarm, calling the police. The security system automatically locked all doors in the building. Seeing this, the T-800 destroyed the door with his weapon. Fire in the hole. They collected all research data and began placing explosives around the room. Moments later, police and SWAT teams arrived and surrounded the building. To buy time, the T-800 went upstairs and fired at police vehicles. The shots were meant only to push them back, not to kill. After the shooting stopped, the T-800 scanned the area and confirmed there were no casualties because John had forbidden him from killing anyone. Meanwhile, John and Miles Dyson reached the main storage room. They retrieved the processor chip and the metal hand. But as they were leaving, the SWAT team stormed in and shot Dyson multiple times, leaving him critically wounded. Realizing he would not survive, he told the others to leave while he held the detonator. The SWAT team retreated from the room. Seconds later, a massive explosion erupted. On the lower floor, they were confronted by SWAT officers who fired tear gas. The T-800 stepped forward and neutralized them by shooting their legs. Drop him. He then took a truck, picked up Sarah and John, and drove them out. But at the same time, the T-1000 arrived and hijacked a helicopter. He used it to pursue and shoot at them. During the chase, the T-800 slowed the truck, causing the T-1000's helicopter to crash. They then took a van and continued escaping. The T-1000 pursued them again using a tanker truck filled with liquid nitrogen. Because the van was too slow, the T-800 told Sarah to take the wheel. He then climbed onto the tanker and shot the T-1000, causing the truck to overturn into a steel mill. The T-1000 climbed out, but his body was exposed to liquid nitrogen and froze solid. At that moment, the T-800 spoke a famous line in Spanish and shattered him with a gunshot. But moments later, the liquid metal fragments melted and reformed. Seeing this, the T-800 led Sarah and John deeper into the factory. But the previous nitrogen exposure caused serious damage to the T-1000 system. His body glitched and his limbs involuntarily mimicked anything he touched. The T-800 told Sarah and John to run while he tried to hold the machine off. A brutal fight began, but the T-1000 was far stronger. He trapped the T-800's arm in a heavy gear, immobilizing him, then continued hunting Sarah and John. Trapped, the T-800 eventually tore off his own arm to break free. Meanwhile, Sarah told John to hide when she realized the T-1000 was closing in again. Sarah cornered, fired at the machine, but it was useless. The T-1000 stabbed her shoulder, forcing her to call out to John. Despite the pain, Sarah refused. Just as the T-1000 was about to kill her, the T-800 suddenly returned and struck him from behind with a metal rod. The machines fought again. This time, the T-1000 smashed the T-800 with a steel beam and severely damaged him. He then impaled the T-800 with a metal rod until his system shut down completely. After that, the T-1000 morphed into Sarah and called John to trick him. John nearly fell for it, but the real Sarah appeared and fired at the T-1000, though it had no effect. When they had no hope left, the T-800's backup power activated. With his emergency system, he reactivated despite being heavily damaged. With his remaining strength, he fired a grenade launcher at the T-1000. The blast destabilized the liquid metal and sent it into a vat of molten steel. The extreme heat destroyed his structure and the T-1000 was finally terminated. But the mission was not finished. To ensure Skynet would never exist, John threw the processor chip and metal hand into the molten steel. But there was still one more chip. The one inside the T-800's head. As long as that chip existed, there would always be a chance someone could create the technology. The future would never truly change. The only solution was to destroy it. Hearing this, John refused. He didn't want to lose the T-800, the closest thing he had to a father. John cried and begged him not to die. Seeing the tears, the T-800 calmly said that now he understood why humans cry even though he could not do it himself. He then asked Sarah to lower him into the molten steel. The machine built for killing had now learned empathy and the value of human life. Before being destroyed, the T-800 raised his thumb in farewell. Then he was gone. And with that, the story ends here. The story shows that uncontrolled technology can lead to disaster, so you need to guide innovation with responsibility. The T-800 proves that anyone can change for the better when they learn to value human life. The future is not fixed. You can shape it through the choices you make today.